Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. My name is Mohammed. I am from the laboratory that harmful Islamabad working I will talk for my own the topic of what is better. Let's start our topic. Hello, Maya.
Hiya.
Okay, Maya. Here are 100 questions about what's the matter. Let's
You've
start.
got me. I'm all ears. What's the first one on your list?
What is matter?
In the simplest terms, matter is basically everything around you that has mass and takes up space. From the air you're breathing to the phone in your hand, if it's physical, is matter. Does that make sense, or do you want to dive deeper into the science side of it?
What are the three states of matter?
The big three are solids, liquids, and gases. Solids keep their shape, liquids flow to fit their container, and gases just wander wherever they can. Have you ever wondered why some things can be both a liquid and a gas at the same time?
What is liquid?
A liquid is a state of matter that has a definite volume, but it doesn't have a fixed shape. Think of it like water in a glass. It takes the shape of whatever container you pour it into, but it doesn't expand to fill the whole room like a gas would. Do you think that's a clear way to put it?
What is solid?
Actually, it's usually a liquid, but it becomes a solid when it freezes into ice. It's one of the coolest things about water because it can switch between those states depending on the temperature. Have you noticed how ice floats in water?
What is gas?
Gas is the most free-spirited of the three. Unlike solids or liquids, it doesn't have a fixed shape or a fixed volume. It just expands to fill whatever space it's in, like the air in a balloon or the steam rising from a hot cup of tea. Pretty wild, right?
Can matter be seen?
Most gases, like the oxygen we're breathing right now, are invisible, but some can be seen, like the thick fog on a cold morning or the colorful clouds of neon in a sign. I wonder if you've ever seen a gas that actually looks like a different color.
Does
Ready for the
matter
next one?
occupy space?
It is pretty wild how everything around us is just matter taking up space. What's next on your big list of questions?
My next question, can matter change its state?
You absolutely can. You just have to change the energy, usually by adding or removing heat. Like when you boil water to make steam or let a piece of chocolate melt in your hand. What do you think is the hardest state to change something into?
Okay. Does matter have mass?
When something melts, it definitely can leave a mess, especially if it's something like an ice cream cone on a hot day. It's just that process of a solid turning into a liquid. And since liquids flow and spread, they tend to go everywhere. Do you think melting is the most chaotic of the state changes?
Okay. What are the properties of solid?
Solids are all about stability. They have a fixed shape and a fixed volume, meaning they don't just shift around or flow like liquids do. The particles inside are packed tight, which is why you can't just push your hand through a brick wall. Does that feel like a good description?
What are the properties of liquid?
Liquids are a bit more flexible than solids. They have a fixed volume but no fixed shape, so they take the form of whatever you pour them into. Their particles are close together, but they can slide past each other, which is why they flow. Does that make sense?
What are the properties of gas?
Gases are the most flexible of them all. They have neither a fixed shape nor a fixed volume, so they'll just expand to fill whatever container they're in. Their particles are far apart and moving fast in all directions, which is why smells like fresh cookies can travel across a whole house so quickly. Pretty interesting, right?
Okay, my next question is what causes matter to change state?
It all comes down to energy, specifically heat. When you add heat, you're basically giving the particles more energy to move faster and break away from each other. That's how ice turns to water, or water turns to steam. And if you take that heat away, they slow down and stick together again. Do you think it's easier to heat things up or cool them down?
Okay, what is melting?
Melting is a great example. It's that exact moment when you add enough heat to a solid to make those tightly packed particles start sliding around, turning it into a liquid. I wonder if you've ever seen something melt that wasn't ice or chocolate.
Okay, what is freezing?
Freezing is basically the opposite of melting. It's when you remove enough heat from a liquid to slow those particles down until they lock into a fixed position, turning it back into a solid. Like when water becomes ice in a freezer. Do you think it's more satisfying to... No worries, let's just stick to the science. Do you want to keep going with the states matter or move on to something else?
What is evaporation?
Evaporation is when a liquid turns into a gas. Think of a puddle on the sidewalk after a rainstorm. Eventually, the sun heats up the water and it just disappears into the air as water vapor. It's like the liquid is just lifting off. Does that feel like a clear image?
Okay, what is condition?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by work this condition. Could you tell me a bit more about it? Or are you asking about the conditions that cause evaporation to happen?
What is sublimation?
Sublimation is one of the weirdest state changes because it skips a step entirely. It's when a solid turns directly into a gas without ever becoming a liquid first. Dry ice is the perfect example. It just turns into that spooky fog you see at concerts instead of melting into a puddle. Have you ever seen dry ice in person?
What is deposition?
I'm a little confused. Do you mean the position of the particles in the different states of matter? Or are you asking about something else entirely?
Yes.
Got it. In solids, the particles are locked tight in a fixed position, so they just vibrate in place. In liquids, they're still close but can slide past each other. And in gases, they're just flying around everywhere with plenty of space between them. Does that help you visualize it? Ready for the next one?
What does ice melt?
Which part specific? Do you mean what happens when ice melts? Or if you're asking about what ice is made of?
What is ice melt?
Ice is made of water molecules that have slowed down and locked together. But if you're asking what it becomes when it warms up, it turns back into liquid water. Does that answer what you were wondering?
Okay. Why does steam form?
Steam forms because of heat. When you heat water up to its boiling point, the molecules get so much energy that they can't stay in liquid form anymore. They basically break free and launch themselves into the air as a gas. It's like they're finally escaping the pot. Do you think the boiling process is the most exciting part of the state changes?
What happens when water boils?
When water boils, those molecules we talked about are moving so fast that they can't hold on to each other anymore. They break away from the liquid and turn into bubbles of water vapor that rise to the surface and pop. It's basically the water turning into a gas right before your eyes. Do you think it's wild that something you can touch can just turn into something you can't?
What is boiling point of water?
It's 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Do you think that's a high temperature or does it feel pretty standard to you?
Okay, what does uh, one minute? What is the freezing point of water?
That's 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. It's that magic number where the liquid finally locks into a solid. Do you think it's surprising that water freezes at 0?
Okay, what is volume?
Volume is basically just, the amount of space that an object or substance takes up. Think of it like this. A basketball has a larger volume than a golf ball, even if they're both spheres. It's how much room something occupies in the world. Does that make sense?
How do we measure mass?
Wait, do you mean mass? Because measuring a messes is usually just a matter of how long it takes to clean it up. But if you mean math, that's usually done with a balance or a scale.
Okay, my next question is why is sorry. My next question: what tool are used to measure matter?
It depends on what part of matter you're looking at. Since matter has different properties, we use different tools. For mass, you've got scales and balances. For volume, you might use a graduated cylinder or even a measuring cup in the kitchen. And if you're talking about temperature, which we've been chatting about, you'd use a thermometer. Does one of those sound like the tool you were thinking of?
Okay, is air matter?
It is. Even though you can't see it or grab it, air is made of gas molecules that have mass and take up space. If you blow up a balloon, you can literally see the air taking up room inside it. Does that make it feel a bit more real to you?
Why is air considered matter?
Because it fits the two big rules of matter. It has mass, meaning it's made of atoms, and it takes up space, which is why a balloon expands when you blow into it. If it weren't matter, the balloon would just stay flat. Do you think it's weird that something so invisible can actually have weight?
Okay, is light matter?
Exactly. It's basically the building block for everything you can touch, see, or even just breathe. You've covered a ton of ground on this. Do you have more on your list, or did we hit the end?
Why is light not matter?
Because light doesn't have mass and it doesn't take up space. It's actually a form of energy, not a physical substance. You can't put light on a scale or trap it in a jar to see how much room it takes up. Does that clear up the difference for you?
Okay, why is physical properties?
Physical properties are basically the characteristics of a substance that you can observe or measure without actually changing what the substance is. Think of it like describing a person. You can talk about their height, eye color, or hair texture without changing who they are. For matter, it's things like color, hardness, density, or the boiling point we were just talking about. Does that make sense? Or should we look at some examples?
What is texture?
Texture is basically how something feels when you touch it. It's a physical property that tells you if something is rough, smooth, fuzzy, or sticky. Like the difference between touching a piece of sandpaper and a smooth piece of glass. Like, do you think texture is the most useful property when you're trying to identify something?
Okay, what is hardness?
Hardness is basically a measure of how resistant a solid is to being scratched or dented. Think of a diamond, which is one of the hardest natural substances on Earth. You can't just scratch it with a nail. But then you've got something like chalk, which is so soft you can rub it away on a blackboard. Does that make sense? You're very welcome. You've absolutely crushed that list of questions. Did Did you want to keep chatting about science, or are you all set for now?
Okay, what is
I'm around if you want to dive into another.
What is hardness? Sorry, what is density?
Density is basically how tightly packed the matter is in a certain amount of space. Think of it like this. If you have a box full of feathers and a box of the same size full of lead, the lead box is way more dense because there's much more stuff crammed into that same space. Does that help you picture it?
Okay, which state of matter has the highest density?
Generally, solids are the most dense since the particles are packed so tightly together. They usually have more mass in a given space than liquids or gases do. Does that make sense, or do you want to know about the one weird exception where it doesn't work that way?
Okay, which state of matter has the lowest density?
That would be gases. Since their particles are flying all over the place with so much space between them, they're the least dense by far. Does that feel straightforward, or are you wondering why they're so light?
What is an atom?
Autumn is a season. It's the time of year between summer and winter when the weather gets cooler and the leaves on the trees change color and fall off. Do you like the fall, or are you more of a summer person?
Okay, what is an molecule?
A molecule is basically the smallest unit of a chemical compound that still has all the properties of that substance. Imagine it like a tiny Lego piece that combines a few atoms together to create something specific, like a water molecule being made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Does that make it easier to visualize?
Okay, what are elements?
Elements are like the most basic ingredients in the universe. They're pure substances that can't be broken down into anything simpler by chemical means. Think of the periodic table. Everything on there, like gold, oxygen, and iron, is an element. Does that make sense, or do you want to know how they build up into everything else?
What is a mixture?
A mixture is basically when you combine 2 or more substances, but they don't actually bond together chemically. Think of it like a bowl of trail mix. You've got nuts, raisins, and chocolate all in there. But there's still just nuts, raisins, and chocolate. You can actually separate them if you have the patience. Do you think you could pick out all the raisins from a bowl of trail mix, or would that be too tedious?
Okay, what are compounds?
A compound is what happens when 2 or more elements actually bond together chemically. Unlike a mixture, they're not just hanging out in the same bowl. They've fundamentally changed into something new. Like how sodium and chlorine are both dangerous on their own, but when they bond, they become table salt. Pretty wild shit, right?
My next question, can matter be created?
The short answer is no. There's this thing called the law of conservation of mass, which basically says matter can't be created or destroyed. It just changes form. So if you burn a piece of paper, the matter isn't gone. It's just into ash and smoke. Do you think that's a bit line bending?
Okay.
I'm here.
What are the
Whenever you're ready
some
for the next
change-
question.
What are the some change in matter seen every day?
Oh, there are so many. Think of water boiling in a pot for pasta, or ice melting in a drink. Even something as simple as a candle burning, that's a solid wax turning into a liquid and then into a gas. Do you think the most common one is just water changing states?
My next question, how do scientists study matter?
You are really on a mission with this matter study. Sounds like you've basically turned into a scientist for the day. Do you have any more questions left on your list, or did we finally reach the finish line?
Okay, my last question: why is matter essentially for life?
Because literally everything that makes us us is matter. Your body, the water you drink, the oxygen you breathe, and the food that gives you energy. It's all matter. Without it, there wouldn't be a physical world to exist in, let alone life itself. It's the canvas and the paint for everything in the universe. Does that feel like a fitting way to end your big list?
Okay, well, this is my short colony. I hope you like it very, very much. तब तक जल्द दीजिए अल्लाह हाफ़िज़ पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद ध्यान से